I think it probably sent out like a tweet and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, I got it.
Wait a few minutes here. I'm gonna see. Here we go. That was me echoing on my own screen, but now I can watch the. I think I can watch the chat now. Ah, how do I mute?
You guys have rain going on over there?
Yeah, I heard it a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's been off and on over here. It just started to come down. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to work tomorrow.
It's gonna be messy for the next day or so.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. They just added a bunch of stuff to this. There we go. That's better. Is it though? No, it's not better. Oh, for goodness sake. Doing it. All right. I'm going to start recording for the podcast. And we are good. Whew, welcome everyone to Flyover Footy. It's been a weird evening. It's been a slow start, but we're going here, and I'm really excited. We got lots to talk about, and I can't wait to kick into it. But let's talk to everyone who's here. Matt, you were the first to log in today, so let's start with you, man. How are you doing?
Doing all right. It's been a wild week. Personally, fandom-wise, I mean, it's been a lot.
Yeah, like your voice may sound higher this week. Is that what I heard? Something like that?
My voice might sound a little higher for some unrelated purposes. Sure.
You're joining the club. We'll just say that. Santiago, how are you, man?
Doing great. It's been a busy week too, but lots of news about St. Louis City SC in the last few weeks, so that's exciting.
Absolutely. You came into town and then I left town so I could get some warmth. So maybe there's some kind of deal. Like now that the temperature is going to be below 61 tomorrow, someone's maybe going to have to leave and go somewhere.
Who's next?
Yeah. Jake, how are you doing, man? What's up?
Good. I would like to leave. I don't have anything planned, but I was jealous of your trip.
Yeah.
I'm like, so because I can work from home. I haven't like left my house in a while, except to like go walk the dog, which I mean, it has been nice weather to go walk the dog. But then seeing the photos of your trip, and I've just been like sitting in my home studio talking all day. Did another soccer podcast last night. Not that I don't love talking about soccer, but I'm very excited to get out of the house and go watch some soccer this weekend. So
yes, that's probably the best news of the week, and that's saying a lot for me, actually. Stuart, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Sorry, Caleb just sent me a message on Twitter. So, hey, Caleb, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Just my camera is not working, and the USB camera I got to work was just a shot of like straight up my nose. So that's not good for anyone here. So
more free full of advertisement.
Yeah, just more full of advertisement. I mean, Matt's getting paid for,
and they call me the paid shill.
Yeah, you get a paid shill for City, and I'll shill for Fulham over here. So
I love it.
No, I'm doing well. Just it's been a big couple of weeks, so really exciting stuff.
Absolutely, it has. Let's dig right into it. I'm going to get us started here, and then we'll pass it on to Matt with more details, as we do around here, it seems. So the big announcement, Centene Stadium was announced. So it's a big 15-year partnership with Centene Corporation. They're a Fortune 25 healthcare company. They're headquartered in St. Louis. Okay, all right, we're going to start there. That's in the article, displayed as fact. 6,000 people employed in STL, 75,000 globally. And I think the positive thing that you see here, the quote that I liked was that they were looking for a company that would invest in the continued growth of our region. So So yeah, really big announcement, really exciting. We finally know the name of our stadium. We have some money for our players, right? Matt, why don't you dig into some of those details?
Yeah, so I think the timeline this week has been part of the fun part of that. So a couple weeks ago, there was the rumor on Facebook from one of the construction workers who claimed that a stadium naming rights announcement, we talked about that on one of our shows, was upcoming, and they had to push it back because of the drone flying. And so we saw the drone fly this week. The teaser on the app was fun. The leak, air quotes, or reveal the night before by our good buddy Frank Cusimano was fun. So we got a little inside information ahead of the announcement. So everybody kind of got off their what would have been the 10 a.m. hot takes. We got to spread that out a little bit the night before. So we found out it was going to be Centene Stadium the night before. Everybody kind of got on what what their soapbox was going to be for that announcement. And I think it's the perfect announcement. It's no surprise that I would say that based on my interactions on Twitter. But honestly, you said it right there, Phil. It's the biggest St. Louis-based company that exists. It is number 24 currently on the Fortune 500 list. The next closest, as far as St. Louis headquartered companies, is pretty sure 181. It's Emerson Electric 181. So it's not even close as far as size goes. So that does a lot for both the company and for the team. We know these announcements. You said it yourself. It's a 15-year agreement based on other teams comparable like Columbus and DC United, where we know it's in the $3 to $4 million ballpark per year. This can be estimated at the low to middle end at $50 to $60 million. And you can do a lot with that kind of money. So bottom line for the team is this provides a lot for our on the field product. We can expect that. We can hold the team's feet to the fire on that this should lead to high investment into the on field product. Beyond that, I think it gets to, and I do think it's important to look at it from this perspective, what it means for St. Louis. It's not too long ago where the Centene CEO, who built the company in St. Louis. So it's not like this guy came in out of nowhere and took over a company that was in St. Louis. He built this company in St. Louis, had a lot of not so nice things to say. So a year and a half ago or so, he had comments relating to why they stopped a construction phase in Clayton because of crime in St. Louis. And so it seems kind of like a easy mark to blame that from a CEO. So what are you going to do to help the product? You're just going to claim St. Louis is bad for business and move elsewhere? Because that's kind of what it seemed at the time. Fast forward last summer, you could read articles on this from the Business Journal. Last summer, he gave an updated interview with quotes that were comparatively nicer. I don't want to move this company, saying some things that you want to hear him say. He said, quote, "I've been saying some things to try to get people's attention. We employ a lot of people in St. Louis. We have a lot of office space. That would not be good," referencing moving the company. So you're seeing comments from the leadership of our now stadium sponsor that started off very negative, kind of reined it in. And we heard through other Business Journal authors last night in various online conversations that some of the things that the CEO of Centene, Michael Neerdorf, wanted are actually happening as far as public safety. So it's almost like you're seeing the company that City is aligning with isn't just having a history of saying some negative things in St. Louis, along with their history of building their top 25 company in St. Louis, but you're seeing meaningful progress towards doing things that would help St. Louis out. You're seeing action behind some of those words, which I think is key here when you're talking about you want to see things and not just hear things. All that comes to a head as far as we're concerned with this announcement. And Phil, I love quotes. I have had some good quotes on the past couple of our shows. I'm going to drop this one, and then I'll see what you guys want to say on the subject. So July 2021, Michael Neerdorf, CEO of Centene, said, quote, "I'm not going to invest a lot more money in St. Louis until I see that we're dealing with the issues." Fast forward to this week, quote, "Centene is pleased to invest in Centene Stadium as part of our long-standing commitment to the St. Louis region. We are committed to this community and the people who live here," said Marcela Mengeres, Executive Vice President, Chief Communications Officer, one of the people who was with CKB on the podium. Quote, St. Louis is our home, and we are so proud for Centene Stadium to be the home of St. Louis City SC. That, to me, is almost a complete 180 from those original statements. They're still doing their work with Charlotte. They're still going to be the sponsors of various things with Charlotte FC. But you're seeing a complete shift in tone and putting your money down in St. Louis now, reinvesting like we wanted to see them do. It's not just a company that's local to St. Louis. This is a company that St. Louis needs because of their size and how many people they employ and what the growth potential still is in St. Louis.
Yeah, let's pivot to Stuart here since we dug all the way in here. Let's see what you kind of have you feel about all those kind of things.
About Centene, I mean, I got hyped. I think Gary Hibbett had the best take on Twitter about all this, which was like, everyone gets that it's a corporate announcement and it's not inherently in itself exciting because it's just the name of a company who's not, part of the team, but it's one step closer to the team on the field, and it's something to talk about and be excited about. So, normally I'm the cynical one who's just, raining on everyone's parade, but it really is exciting, as the first stadium sponsor to have that name. 16 years from now, when we're talking about, Steve Jobs International Stadium Center, St. Louis, or whatever places it, no one's going to care. We won't talk about it. We'll be talking about why, Josh Sargent's son isn't signing a homegrown contract for us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, in the moment, it's the biggest thing to talk about. So we talk about it just like we are griping about the color. Is it pink or red?
Mm-hmm.
You can only talk about what you have in front of you, and right now this is what we have in front of us, and it's exciting, and I don't see any reason to just complain about it necessarily. It's not a crypto or NFT or some sort of MLM scam. So I see all of this as a win, assuming that this is a sign that Centene is pivoting and re-embracing St. Louis. So
yeah, Santiago or Jake, any more thoughts maybe on the negative? I almost want to kind of stay in this like subject and maybe work our way back out because there are a lot of good things to say too.
Yeah, so definitely another milestone for the club, getting closer to 2023. Now the home of the team has a name. It's a St. Louis company. At the beginning, when the news was leaked on Monday, when I heard Centene, obviously the first thing that came to mind, I was like, oh, wasn't their CEO saying that he wanted to leave St. Louis or stop investing in St. Louis? That was what stuck to my head. Like, that was my perception of Centene. But then after looking a little bit more into it, obviously they have kind of turned things around a little bit, and this investment in St. Louis City SC shows that they are committed to St. Louis in the long run. Obviously, they said a lot of things yesterday about their commitment to the community, and it'll be great to see what the club and Centene will do to continue investing in the community. Obviously, they said the right things, but looking forward to seeing what those actions will be.
What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I don't have like any negativity really. I'm not going to like bash on anything. It is exciting. It's exciting moving forward. When the leak happened, part of me was still like, part of me was still like, what if it's not though? Mainly because when you have the screenshot from the date, was it the date that was colored blue and everyone's comparing the colors and everything? I'm like, that doesn't match. It's not the same at all.
Yeah.
So like, this is all a scam. So it's not going to be Centene. I think the only real weird thing for me, as far as like the comments the CEO said, it's like, I mean, we live in the world now where everything's canceled immediately. It doesn't matter. It's like in there can be room for redemption. And this is a pretty big redemption, like putting your money where your mouth is and investing. Like you said, invest. And that's what they're doing, literally. So it's exciting moving forward. The only weird thing I think is the fact that they are the jersey sponsor of Charlotte.
Yeah.
So are they jersey or is it training? Is it
Training
like
jersey. Training jersey and regular jersey sleeve.
Okay.
And they're the field sponsor too of Bank of America for their games.
Okay. I guess the only weird thing, I was thinking it was jersey
Their
sponsor.
turf sponsor.
Turf sponsor, yeah.
It's going to be weird seeing a team walk in and like their logo is in our stadium. It's better that it's not on the front, I guess. But yeah. That's the only weird thing, really.
Well, and it's not unprecedented too. So that there's one other example I could find that they have that, and it's Target. So LAFC has Target on their sleeve, and Minnesota United has Target as their kit sponsor. So there's at least some.
Yeah, it happens for sure.
Yeah,
and
that's all that money.
I think all of this comes down to, it's a bit of weird PR that City is having to deal with because they brought them on board. But if the last thing we remember is Centene saying some of those negative comments, and then they join City, and there's nothing in between as far as like working for the community, like actual examples that we can draw straight into our brain. I'm not even saying they didn't do it, but like, if that's the only PR we can think of off the top of our heads, and then there's a City signing, well, of course, yeah, we're going to think of those things. We're going to be worried. We're going to point to that awkwardness with Charlotte that is not helpful to that already kind of bad PR. And I think we're just a little bit stuck in right now. And I think the only thing that I will point to is like, Zach's comments, the show up, make noise. I assume it's Zach. It could be anyone on that podcast, but very negative toward those things that Centene was saying that we want to invest in this community. And I totally agree with that. Like, corporations aren't necessarily too good at that. And if they've done that, I feel like I'd like them to kind of show us what it is, or make a big giant step toward working in the community in a certain meaningful way. But until then, I'm kind of with Zach. Like, say you're going to do it, fine. I don't really trust you. You're a corporation. Show me if you're going to do it, and then I'll trust you, and I will love it for real. I'll back it, and I will shout it on this podcast that's got like 10 listeners right now, which is awesome. But I'm with him until then. And there was one big point I wanted to make, and I can't think of what it is now. But the big one is they're giving us money for players, and that's what I really care about as a soccer fan, right? I don't think like, hey, this guy's going to sponsor a stadium and that means the community is going to get better from Centene. No, they're sponsoring a soccer stadium because they want marketing and we want players, and that deal is going to go on for 15 years, and in 15 years we might look for a better deal, or we might not. We might get a better deal from Centene, and if Centene leaves, I'll be like, who cares? Someone else is coming in that's going to give us money for our players. So that's what I wanted to round it out with, is this is all I care about. I hope we get lots of money for our players, and Centene sticks with us and is a good partner for a long time. And I'm super glad it's not like Premier League. Like, we don't have Chinese letters on the front of our jersey. You know what I'm saying? We have a St. Louis corporation, the biggest one in St. Louis. You know what I mean? I'm very happy about that, and I'm very proud. And so just to circle that back to positivity a little bit, open forum, guys. Let's just talk about this and maybe even end with some good stuff, huh?
So I'll challenge you on one thing, because I'm curious about this one. So the notion that you want to see a Centene put their actions in play, that you want to see them do things. You don't just want to hear them talk a good game with the quotes. I would kind of just flip it back to the sheer fact that, why are we talking about them in the first place? It's because they put so much action in place and invested so much. To me, it doesn't matter what percentage of their investment is of their overall net worth or advertising. It's all a moot point. Like, what's the point in even looking at it from that perspective? It doesn't do any good. They're investing locally. They're investing in their future in St. Louis, because if you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, the naming rights of the St. Louis City Stadium means that they're trying to draw people to St. Louis for Centene. Like, they're not going to hire people in Atlanta or in Chicago because they've got the St. Louis soccer team's stadium. That doesn't do them any good. It's marketing themselves in St. Louis, which will help drive more people to the St. Louis area that they can recruit. So it's that kind of investment too. It's not just having their name be the biggest name physically in downtown West. It's what that means long term for them in St. Louis. And to me, that's the action. So I look forward to long-term programming and as far as the health and wellness that they talked about, just like I know Purina is working with them on, just like I'm sure they're doing things with Together on the financial side. But that kind of stuff is going to happen behind the scenes until they set those things up. I'm pretty sure Barquet was a Purina collaboration with them as well, that because their logo is over there at Barquet, the dog park. I look forward to those things too. But what I'm saying is, at some point, you can't just say, all right, I want to see action when action is staring you right in the face.
It is, but it's a very, to me, it feels like a bit like a trickle down kind of action. But it's real and it's necessary. And we really, really need corporations and jobs in St. Louis. We're desperate for it, really. So if that's their only contribution, I will back you, Matt, and say that that's enough. I think it's enough. We don't need them doing all the extra stuff that maybe we're extremely spoiled that CKB and all of that corporation is doing for us.
And don't get me wrong. I fully expect there to be health and wellness. They made that a cornerstone of their speeches. I fully expect there to be some partnership, whether they're going to, have some kind of gym programming or sponsor some kind of race event or, get involved in the community some way with health and wellness. I'm fully expecting that. I expect the city Centene name to be collaborating in that aspect as well. But I'm saying I'm not waiting for the first thing, the second thing to say, okay, you're starting to prove yourself. You don't have to prove yourself to me, first of all. But to me, it's you've invested this already. That's the step now. You can that's what we should all be excited about. And then if nothing happens in the next 2 or 3 years, we'll probably look back on it and be like, well, where the hell was all the other programming? But it's not like I'm not waiting for the 2, 3, 4 things eventually to happen before I'm saying, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, I think that the sponsorship is the first step. They're putting their money into a team, investing in the city, showing they want to stay in the city. And it's going to take time. We're not going to see that programming come out tomorrow or in the next few weeks. It's going to take some time, but let's wait and see what that programming will be. But this is the first step, and investing in the team, investing in the city, it's great for a company that has been talked about not being good for St. Louis or wanting to leave St. Louis, but it shows their commitment and that they want to stay here for long.
As a St. Louisan, that's my favorite thing, that I would actually enjoy being part of that PR thought process of, we joined City and we wanted to be very public saying that this is our headquarters, that we're building something in St. Louis, that they intend to stay here. They were able to say all of those things with this announcement, and they probably got a lot more attention for it because it was a stadium announcement kind of thing. So, if this is just part of them changing their message, getting a little better PR, and they end up in 5 to 10 years having a really good look in the city of St. Louis, man, this is a really nice turning point, in my opinion. It could really be a flag in the sand in that way. So, any other thoughts? It looks good on the stadium. They did the front porch thing, and I thought that was nice. And the logo looks good. It doesn't look bad in any way. Matt, I also loved, as a side, that you noticed that they had the city crest without the city vertical letters, and I really like the look of that. I think it looks awesome.
The secondary crest is one of my favorite things. And I think that's the first time that we've seen it really with the 2 primary colors, the river blue and the city red. Before it had been like a white red type of a thing. And I hope they use that more. I would love to see that over south of Market on the training field side. I think that's a really cool play on the main crest that it doesn't get a lot of use out of now. But I think at this point, people are starting to see, and maybe it'll carry to next year, the main crest. I'm looking at it over here, but and here and everywhere. But it's there. Everybody knows it. Like, you walk out and people know that. So I'm hoping we get to see more of that because it's really cool.
Agree. Any more thoughts? Open forum. Jake, I know you touched on it already, but if that hadn't turned out to be the right news, right? It would have been so crazy.
The one thing
but
I
yeah.
thought would have been funny, I said, was if they had given each journalist or news outlet a different name, just to see who would have leaked it. That way they would have known or something. That would
Yeah, there were some thoughts that maybe he broke the what is it called, the that silence, but what is the
Press
embargo?
embargo.
the embargo. Yeah.
And that would be really terrible. I hope he didn't. But my wife made a good point that it's KSTK. Like Centene's been in the news for a long time, so like it could have very easily come from some random Centene person, more than likely, right?
I started to think that even if City gave him a heads up, which I'm still not convinced they did, it seems like he did one of the, like he got it from Centene or from a source and was able to confirm it once or twice. You know, the two sources, and you can run with it. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up doing that independently or somebody on his staff did.
Yeah, City has been so good about keeping things secret when they have things to announce. So I was surprised that it was leaked. But yeah, I think he had some information from somebody at Centene and was able to confirm it. So I was surprised. Oh, they gave him the name of the stadium more than 12 hours before the announcement. That's hard to believe based on the ways they have been doing with other announcements. But it is done. But yeah, I was secretly hoping, oh, maybe they gave him the wrong name. This is part of the strategy to surprise everybody, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
Maybe someday that'll happen. Hopefully not to us. But yeah, Frank outdid us all on that day, and props to him. He did it right. So all worked out. Lastly, the Post-Dispatch article being the best one, right, from Tom Timmerman. Felt like it had the most details, and we seem to really like his reporting a lot. It always seems to be the best. Okay. Lastly, preseason schedule. It was trickled out slowly. We were able to investigate and find some of the good detective work from everyone in the podcast and Facebook and everyone out there looking for games. And now we have a full schedule, one being this Saturday. Stuart, why don't you start us with this one?
Yeah, so this is exciting. It's Memphis 901. And there'll be a couple of familiar faces with John Berner and Kadeen Dakers play for them. Mark Sigbur's moved down to Miami, so we won't have him joining us. But no, it'll be fun. We've had some exciting matches with them with St. Louis FC. Man, just thinking of Tim Howard coming and
Speaking of Zach, I can't not put those two together.
yeah, Zach and Tim Howard. Speaking of which, Memphis 901 is playing Chattanooga FC in the Open Cup. So I wonder if Jeremy will fly Zach down there for some heckling. But no, Memphis will be exciting. They're always an interesting, exciting team, and I love that it's not closed door. So City's letting us in to just experience it. And I don't know. It's just it's feeling real, guys, and that's great. It's hard to kind of put into words. I was thinking this morning about how excited I am about this summer, and it's kind of one last ride in the lower leagues. I think for some of us, we've been through St. Louis FC, and
good point.
To be blunt, I think MLS Next Pro this year is going to be a bit more amateur than we're used to with maybe USL, because I don't think they quite have their act together in a way that USL did, but it's their first year, so that'll change, I'm sure. So no, it's a preseason game. You'll get together, you'll meet some new people, you'll see some people you haven't seen in a while, and will be cold because it's 36 degrees outside, and the soccer probably won't be as good as it should be because everyone's a little rough.
I've never been on the berm and felt warm at the same time. So, I mean, all is right in the world, I think. I love that. If I can interject before you guys talk, I like you mentioned the lower leagues thing. We can just get this out of the way because, yeah, I mean, I'm in love with USL and came from the USL show. So I'm really, I'm with you. Thank you so much, City, for setting these up to not be closed door. It kind of does give us lower league guys like one last hurrah. Yeah, it's going to be more amateur than what we're used to with USL Championship, but it might remind us of the first season a little bit, and it also will be the last time like I can scream at a player and he like hears me clearly. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff I'm gonna miss. I love the amateur side of lower division soccer. So this again, it'll give me one last hurrah in that way. I'm with you, Stuart.
And you don't have to feel bad about it, like with the academy. So with the academy, it's like, all right, guys, these are kids. You don't
I
get
know,
too
yeah.
hard on them.
Same,
These are
yeah.
these are going to be professionals again, where we get to.
I wanted to yell at the ref so many times, and I was like, just keep your cool, man. Take it easy. But there were a couple games. Let's talk about those before we say anything else about the schedule. Matt, I think you probably have this more than I do. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we played Cincy and lost 2-0 and Union 2 and lost 2-0. Is that correct?
I think it was 4-0 from
4-0,
Cincy.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Santiago, you had the details, it sounds like. But so a rough start, but these guys have never played together, right? Santiago, anything you were thinking when you saw those?
Yeah, no, well, obviously, 2 losses, 2-0 and 4-0. So the fact that caught my attention was that we didn't score any goals. Obviously, I wasn't expecting to win these matches. These guys have been training for a week and a half. They're getting to know each other. But yeah, it surprised me that we didn't score any goals. But it's the beginning. I was also hoping that maybe we're gonna get a good result against Cincy.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously they got the best of us. We'll see them in 2023 in MLS. But I wouldn't think much of these results. It's the beginning, and it was against an MLS team, and the one against Philadelphia obviously is the same level, MLS Next Pro. So I was hoping it was gonna be closer and maybe the team was gonna score, but it's early and these guys are learning the system, and they will figure it out in the next few matches and friendly matches and be ready for the beginning of the MLS Next Pro season. I'm looking forward to Saturday, seeing these guys playing together for the first time. The other thing that will be great to see is that they announced 21 players, but then on the press release they mentioned 24. So it'll be great to see who these other 3 guys are.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they beyond the preseason, we didn't talk about it, but they announced the U.S. Open Cup. We would be hosting at Ralph Court Stadium in SIUE. We'd be hosting Indy 11, who's an old
Yes.
USL Championship rival for the Hoosier Cup. So that'll be April 5th, 6th, or 7th, I believe.
Midweek matches. Yeah.
Midweek.
Yeah,
AJ Cochran?
midweek. AJ Cochran will come back to St. Louis homecoming. I hope he takes it easy, but this would be the perfect year for just a deep cup run for City to. I mean, the only year for City to do a cup run, but I really hope it's more than just one match in the Open Cup for City.
The only year we get to be one of those lower league underdog type teams that could make a run.
Yeah.
Hoosier Cup, is that your work there, Stuart? Or is that official?
It's not official. It's just it's kind of the obvious one that we've I think been bandying around a few times, but I think indie people kind of ruffle some feathers there. But
Perfect.
you know,
perfect. What were you gonna say, Matt? Sorry.
So Santiago mentioned we have 3 unknowns that had been training or trialing or whatnot with City. We also have 3 players who aren't yet with City. At least they weren't when the roster was announced. So of the 21 that were announced, Josh Doling, Celio Martins, I'm gonna go Martin, and Max Schneider were not with the team. They were listed as internationals, not yet joining the club. And so when we're talking about not surprised we're not scoring a goal, the thing I found interesting about our roster is we seem to be pretty shallow up front. We only have 2 professionally contracted players up front. Dita Armstrong, who's 17, and Josh Doling, who is decorated from Missouri State, originally from London in the Manchester United youth system. But Josh wasn't even with us, it doesn't seem like, in Florida. So we're talking about using our amateurs, our Carson Gibbs, our Anthony Faupel, and Nathan Ferguson. That might, I mean, I'm not, none of us watched it. I'm just looking for reasons on what could have caused the lack of goal scoring, lack of offensive attack. And when you're playing the Philadelphia Union 2, who have a proven strong academy structure, and you're playing an MLS side, Cincy or otherwise, that's good level competition for a team that may be down 3 of who very well could be their top players.
Mm-hmm. Really good point there. And it's early. Like, the thing that struck me about those was that we do have a system that takes time to figure out, and we're adding a bunch of players to the academy guys. There's a chance our academy guys look best because they know where to go at all times. You know what I'm saying? So,
are they physical enough though against who they were playing?
I know. I mean, yeah. Look at what we saw with the Scott Gallagher U23s against Des Moines Menace. Right? It was very different. I mean, they stood up and looked good by the end, but yeah, it makes a difference when it's grown men versus academy players.
And we still have yet to play FC Cincinnati on any competition evenly matched. So our academy, when we played FC Cincinnati, they were playing kids who were years ahead of them. They weren't. It was a friendly. I think it was a 16th match, but they were playing 19-year-olds, U23 type people. So that was nowhere near an even match. And here it was our 2 team against their MLS team, where our 2 team had been practicing for a week and a half.
Yeah.
So eventually we'll find yeah.
No, I was gonna jump in with some beef that I have with Cincy now because well, that game specifically, they were. I'm just gonna call them out. I don't care. Their Twitter account was just like giving play-by-play, like minute-by-minute play-by-play, like it was a full-on game. They're tweeting, tagging St. Louis City SC with no mention at all that it's our MLS Next Pro team. And I mean, they don't have to. That's fine. But just like so, like they were so excited and so like energetic, and oh my gosh, we got another goal in, and their fans are like, oh, I'm trying not to get too excited. I know it's preseason, I shouldn't get excited. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't. This is our MLS Next Pro team who's been practicing for maybe a week, so you shouldn't get excited at all. So I was just like,
love it.
Let their hopes be dashed in the future.
Yeah,
right. Like, I mean, it might come back to bite me later, hopefully not, but it was just really funny. It was nice that they were tweeting just to get a play-by-play, especially since we didn't have a lineup or anything out. I know Matt was trying to find the stream and everything, and there wasn't. We just need someone. We didn't need someone on the ground with an iPhone. But yeah, it was funny seeing their fans get really hyped. I mean, they got to win, so
they need a win, Jake.
But yeah, they had a rough season last year, and wins were lacking. So yeah, I guess they'll take this one.
Absolutely.
I said a couple weeks ago that like I always like I'll type up a tweet and then delete it because I'm like, I'm not gonna be negative. I'm not gonna be that guy. But I was like very close to just I wanted to respond so bad and be like, hey guys, hey, you know who you're playing? Like we're not an MLS team yet. So, I didn't, but now I said it, so now they know.
Perfect. This is the perfect medium.
Tag them. Tag their Twitter right
now. Any other thoughts about preseason? Do we want to say the schedule? Does anyone have it up? I don't have it in front of me, and I'll mess it up if I try.
Yeah, I have it. So we've already played the Union 2 and FC Cincinnati on February 8th and 11th. Memphis 901 is this Saturday, February 19th at 3 o'clock, Creve Coeur Soccer Complex. Please come out and support. The following week, February 25th at Indy 11, that's a closed door matchup. So it starts at noon Central. More power to you if you want to try to get in there. They're back home March 1st against Maryville at Maryville. That's a 3:30 p.m., but it's a weekday matchup. I think it's a Tuesday, March 1st. March 5th. March 5th is where it's going to be. Louisville City. The Kings Cup is reignited. 3 o'clock on a Saturday, March 5th. Location to be determined. Read into that what you will. March 11th, we go to St. Louis University, Herman Stadium at 11 a.m. March 15th, we play Missouri State back at Creve Coeur at 3 p.m. And then finishing up preseason in Omaha, March 18th against the Union Omaha at 2 p.m. Central. Location TBD.
I'll be so excited because Missouri State's been in the tournament the last couple of years. It'd be so cool if some of those players like turn out to be really good and we have a bit of a pipeline there.
And we have 3 of them already. So it's one of those where, you've got Palazzolo, who has his SLU connection, but you've got 3 Missouri State, and they all are very highly decorated.
Yeah. That'll be a cool one to watch for sure. They've really, and like, they're not getting much attention. SLU got a lot of attention, deservedly so, but Missouri State has been good. And yeah, not much attention. But if their players turn out, these could be some nice lottery tickets. Be really cool if they played up.
Yeah. So Matt, with that last friendly being March 18th, it's probably safe to assume we won't have an MLS Next Pro match that weekend, right?
Yeah, so the rosters for MLS Next Pro lock on the 18th, which we had speculated could lead to the start of the season being that next day, which is what MLS usually does. It still could be the next day for some teams, but more than likely we'll have, I would assume, a midweek match or the following week, end of March, as our opener.
Bookmark in your brains. Speaking of guys who have come up through Missouri, you like that transition? There's been a lot of action on Twitter this week. Just want to make sure you guys are noticing that Kip Keller's been all over the Austin FC Twitter, and there was a nice interview with him with the guy in Austin, and he played 45 minutes with Austin, and it went so well that now there's like rumors circulating he could start on day 1, which is something Jack Mayer didn't pull off. This is like, it doesn't happen very often, even for rookie center backs in MLS, even with how many got picked this year. I'd be surprised if more than one did, if at all. So anyway, it's a big deal. Hope you guys are following that in Austin FC. Anyone want to talk about Kip? Anything they saw maybe I didn't mention?
Well, I saw that Austin fans were just raving about him. His composure, his calmness with the ball, and his ability in the air. And some people were like, "Oh, it's amazing that we have this awesome center back." And other people were saying, "Well, he was, slated to go number 1, so the fact that he fell was just kind of an obvious course of action for Austin." But no, he seems to be fitting like a glove there. And I mean, we know Kip, we love Kip, we know he's going to be successful. So I hope he just absolutely kills it everywhere outside of when he plays St. Louis, of course. So
the coolest detail, you mentioned it there, Stuart, a little bit, but the coolest detail I saw was that he feels pretty comfortable, it seems like, doing everything, but he is having to play the ball on the ground a lot more, which is like really cool for his development, first of all. But number 2, it sounds like he's doing fine with that, even though he's not used to it, which I think says a lot. Like if it's your weakest point in your game and you're already keeping up with MLS, maybe to some degree in preseason, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Like even if he doesn't start day 1, that kind of thing makes me think he's going to be able to step it up at some point, improve his game, and step in as a starter. If not, at some point. That's what I felt like. Did I cut you off, Stu? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I think you nailed it there.
Cool. Jack Lynn also got signed to a professional contract. I think it was 3 years with options, if I'm not mistaken, with Orlando City. And it's really cool. They don't have to, I don't know if everyone knows this, but a super draft pick doesn't have to sign with the team, and the team doesn't have to sign them. So the fact that they want Jack is a good thing. Yes, they have an MLS Next Pro team, I believe. So he may be down there, but it's still a good opportunity for a St. Louis boy. And Stu, I saw what you were saying about him. I'm going to go back to what you said about him today.
Oh, just Jack, yeah, some people were talking about how high his motor is and how they expect him to make an impact with Orlando City this year. Which no, I fully expect that as well. I mean, he's a quality player. He's a good striker, good up top. And Orlando's a good location for him. You saw what they did with DK and what they did with Chris Miller. So hopefully Jack's the next one on the list to kind of break through. And he won't have quite the expectations as a Generation Adidas guy will. So he'll hopefully have a little more time. But do you guys know who's their current starting striker? I'm not sure.
Oh, good question. I'm gonna try to pull it up. I've been meaning to look this up. But Nani's gone, right? Not that
Yeah,
he was their striker, but he would do it once in a while. DK's gone.
Miller's gone. Mueller.
Yeah, Mueller's gone. Shoot. I went to FotMob and they don't have any games available to look at.
So they just signed recently Facundo Torres from Uruguay, and it was a big signing. They were after him for a while, and there were a lot of rumors that it was happening. Then that the deal was off. Then it was back on, off again. But they finally signed him, a very exciting player. He's 21 years old and had a success with Peñarol in Uruguay, and supposedly supposed to be a good signing for Orlando, and he's one of those players that is seeing the MLS as one of those leagues where he can be seen by teams in Europe and make that transition in the next 2 to 3 years. And I think from what I have seen, I think he's gonna make an impact. But even with that, I think Jack could make a difference out of the bench, or even with being exposed to such a good player as Facundo Torres. He's gonna learn, and he's gonna get a good experience there. And yeah, hopefully he can get some minutes at the beginning. It may be hard for him to get minutes, but he's gonna get there.
It'll be interesting to see how this year turns out, because that's a tandem relationship they're going to have to deal with for a while for Jack, because Torres, it looks like, signed a 4-year contract option for a fifth as a young designated player, signing for a club record fee of $9 million. So they're invested.
But he is listed. I finally got their roster up on Transfermarkt. He's listed as a left winger. So if he starts there, Benji Michel's playing on the wing. I do believe Lynn could play on the wing if they really wanted him to. So he'd be competing with him in that case. But their center forwards are all kind of older, except for Erkan Kara is a 26-year-old Austrian.
Yeah, he signed this year, I think, as well.
So that's his biggest competition. Alexandre Pato is 32, center forward. Yeah. Tesho Akindele. Those guys, they're experienced and they're going to get the job done in a lot of ways, but it doesn't mean they're not the kind of guys that would block Jack long term. So
yeah, and I think the fact they signed him is telling too, knowing that they have so many good players. Signing him to a 3-year contract, it's a good sign that they think of him as the future and as an option long term. So I think it's good.
Agree. That's a good one. Let's talk a little bit about the roster. Matt, let's start with you because I know you had kind of like your top 5 favorite players. I think next week, or even if we don't dive into this next week, I'm going to put something up. I want to do a really deep dive on the entire roster. But Matt, let's start at least a little bit here with your top 5.
Yeah, so I'll go quick on my top 5 that I'm most interested in on our 2 roster. So it's our back line is interesting to me because I think when I look at like who I'm most excited about, professionally contract players, I'm thinking about who has the biggest potential to jump up next year. So obviously Josh Yarrow is one that I'm super excited to watch play this year. He's the only one named to the MLS roster. He signed an MLS deal and he's playing for the 2 team this year. Beside that, Ezra Armstrong, who should slide in as a left back. Famous family too. Father Desmond, who was one of 2 first the first 2 U.S.-born Black men's national team players to play in a World Cup.
Wow.
So there's a legacy going on there for Ezra. Ezra's brother Dita is also on the roster, one of the forwards I mentioned earlier. Josh Doling is another one. So he's from London, England, played for MSU, decorated All-American for 3 straight years. Only interesting thing about Josh is he was eligible for the Super Draft last year, but did not get selected. And I couldn't find too much about why that was the case, but I thought it was notable that he was eligible but didn't get selected.
Yeah.
Kyle Hebert, another backline guy I'm interested in. I think he's another decorated Missouri State, so he's one of those that I'm very interested. Is 24 years old, so I think he's got, or like Doling, a lot of experience under his belt collegiately. So it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the back line. And then Max Schneider is my 5th guy to watch. So Max, Marshall University by way of Cologne, Germany, plays, from what I could tell, holding midfield position most of the time, but like a high holding midfield position. He comes from the Bayer Leverkusen system. So, though make with that what you will, those relationships there. But he's one of those that I mentioned earlier, along with Josh, who isn't with City, or at least wasn't at the beginning. I think Max has a lot of potential, especially coming from Marshall. So a lot of success that will hopefully translate to City.
Yeah, I asked Devin Kerr about the Schneider, since he was at Marshall, and Kerr was like a fanboy from Marshall, and he said that he's a 6, pretty much profiles as a 6, not super fast but super dependable. He kind of profiles to me kind of like Palazzolo, which would be interesting to see that kind of a battle. And I wouldn't, like, with the style of play we are, any 6 that isn't super fast, like, totally could convert to center back in a pinch, or even like if you want him to move up as a center back, I could see it for both those guys. They're both kind of big guys. So, Stuart, any thoughts on the roster from you?
I mean, I'm excited to see AJ play. He's a local guy I've been following for a long time. I think he was the former Missouri High School Player of the Year in 2017, 2016. He's had a really interesting career because he had a medical redshirt year, and then he had a COVID redshirt year, or COVID year of eligibility. So he spent 5 years at Indiana and 1 year at SLU. So he came back, and now he's signed and he's staying here. So he's also bounced all the way around the pitch. He played center back in high school, and I want to say he played right back, right mid, and even forward at times for Indiana. So he was all over the place. So he's a versatile player. He's one just from a personal bias. I'm excited to see him play, and also Juan Kuzain come back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
See him play.
Oh yeah,
as a St. Louis FC guy. I mean, he was probably the original like academy, St. Louis FC academy guy, him and like Anthony Brown. So to see Juan come back and sign is really exciting, that St. Louis FC connection. And he even had a unofficial roster rule named after him, the Kuzain rule.
What is it?
Oh, because he signed for Sporting Kansas City after being under an amateur contract for St. Louis FC. So that was a big controversy in 2016, if I'm going way back in the day on that. So, but a lot of familiar and exciting faces on this roster in addition to the new ones. So, of course, it's not even touching on like Jack Wagner and the Gibbs brothers. So
yeah, we'll dig
I
into
don't
that.
know. It's so much to get excited about.
Santiago, any for you? Any favorites? Oh, you might be muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I muted because my dog was barking like crazy. But obviously, you guys already mentioned a lot of the players that caught my attention. But definitely a good mix of players with experience. Like there are a few with experience in USL, some with experience in college soccer. Um, One of them, Akil Watts, even played in the World Cup with the U17s. Then he played with for a couple of years in Spain in the Mallorca system. So definitely a good mix of experience and players that will bring something to the team and that will help develop the academy guys that were moved up this year. I was excited about seeing 6 academy players moving up. Hopefully, we'll see a few more. Right now, they have in that roster they have 9 amateur players, so there is still room for a couple more. So excited about seeing who those 2 could be. But yeah, it's great to see that the team is started to form and already had some preseason matches, and looking forward to what this season will bring, especially keeping an eye on 2 or 3 players that hopefully we'll see in 2023 playing with the main team.
Glad you brought up Akil Watts. He's really cool. So he's one of 2. He also played at Lou City, of course, with Hackworth. So they brought him in after Mallorca, which was such a cool pickup in general. I love when USL guys and MLS guys scoop up guys from Europe that didn't quite make it there. But he played right back coming up, but Hackworth used him as a center mid because he needed him there at the time. And so I don't know if that was normal for him or not, but he did really well as a center mid, so he can play center mid and right back. So that's kind of a cool one. And then Juan Kazane kind of was used as like a deep lying playmaker with Sporting. And when he went to Rio Grande Valley, they used him there sometimes. And eventually he settled in as an 8. And he'd kind of like, just like 8s do in a 3-man midfield. We see it with the national team, see it with a lot of other teams. They kind of disappear for part of a game, and then they pop up and score a goal. And he did that so many times with them. So it'll be really cool to see, like, he might be Aaron Hurd competition in a way, in some ways. They're different, but they could play the same position and do the same kind of thing. So anyway, really cool signings. Those are my favorite USL ones. Thought I'd key in on that one. Jake, you want to say anything about the roster, about preseason coming up? And I wanted to touch on the rumored new player. We haven't even talked about it in the pregame show here. So let's kind of move in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, most of this roster is like a mystery to me. So, but I think Santiago, you touched on the mix and seeing kind of where they came from. It really feels, it seems like it's a cool blend. And like with some players from USL, some from college, it's like it's going to be interesting to see them blend, but it makes me feel like they're not just grabbing whoever, but it was very like,
yeah,
they got who they want to put where they want. So that's exciting. And yeah, like I said, it's kind of a mystery to me. I mean, some of the names I know a little bit, but it's going to be really exciting this Saturday to actually see them and really start to see the vision and put the faces in the number. If they have numbers, I don't know. We saw some of the pictures from those friendlies in Florida. They didn't have any numbers, but at least see the faces in some pretty generic jerseys.
Yeah. Well, the final news, we're going to close on this, guys. Joachim Nilsson is a Swedish international. I think he's 24, center back, left-footed, the second most minutes for his team, Arminia Bielefeld in Bundesliga. Just watched them play this last weekend, and he looks very steady. I thought he wasn't challenging headers enough, so maybe he can work on that. But otherwise, the dude's fast. He's got good feet, and he's a workhorse for sure. Looked great and has potential. Anyone want to talk about Nielsen at all?
It looks like he's wanted, so he's drawing interest elsewhere too, not just St. Louis City. So I think I think if we land him, it probably says more along with what Lutz has and what Lutz can offer coming over here, because he still has an eye towards the Swedish national team. If he comes over here, he's not going to want to lose opportunities to continue to build his resume and prove, when he comes over, he'll be probably 29, maybe late 28s. So he'll still have some years in him for national team duty, and it'll be interesting to see if he comes here. It'll with that kind of eye towards the national team. I think that'll say a lot towards the reputation that City will have had. Also, he could be a TAM player when you get into the weird mechanisms and what we have to do to sign him, and then we only have a certain amount of DP slots for really high level players. I think his rumor he will be making more than the league maximum 612 ish. So I think we'd have to use some TAM money to buy him down. First one of those, so that's interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the weirdest thing too was that he did say, he was quoted somewhere saying that he thinks going to St. Louis will help his national team prospects. And to think that a German Bundesliga center back, a starting one, thinks that it might help him get into Sweden. I thought it was a little weird at first, but they're about to get relegated, so it's not a bad landing spot if he's one of the most valuable defenders in MLS, which I could easily see him becoming.
It kind of makes me wonder too how much players are going to value playing in a system by Lutz Pfannenstiel. His name is like with that quote especially. I can make a lot of conclusions that his name means a lot to decision makers across the world. So you're wanting your national team coaches to take note of where you are and your opportunities to still be there, and you see a Lutz Pfannenstiel system as beneficial to that. That gets you a little excited at what's to come and some players and how players might be viewing St. Louis as a landing spot.
The other thing is, and first of all, this is rumors, and I wanted to correct myself. He's 28 right now. February 6th, 1994 is his birthday, if y'all want to keep track of that. He just turned 28. Santiago, what do you think? We're gathering these players, and the rumor is that they're all going to be here in the spring, summer, ahead of our fall season, playing MLS Pro, MLS Next Pro. So this guy from Arminia Bielefeld is going to play in the third tier of American soccer for half of a season in order to get our team kind of coordinating and playing together ahead of the season, try to help these international players get acclimated. What did you think about that, Santiago?
So I have mixed feelings about it. So great, because you will have 5-6 guys that will be playing for the team in 2023, getting used to the system, playing together, building that soccer memory, and getting ready for 2023. But then the negative I see is that people will probably be expecting this MLS Next Pro team to win all their games and to win by a lot of goals. And there could be some disappointment if the team doesn't get those results. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives. It'd be great for these guys to build that chemistry and get ready for 2023. Have 3-4 months of playing together under their belt and knowing the system, knowing the coaches. I think that will be a plus for 2023.
I guess the obvious downside is that he's playing down a level for a season. Will they be ready for MLS the following season? I mean, that's the obvious question, right?
And the biggest unknown too, because we say it's Division 3. We also say it's against Reserve or 2 teams. We have no idea what kind of competition we're really going to see here.
Mm-hmm.
We can make a lot of speculation based on the old Reserve League, based on the MLS 2 teams in USL, but full season of this is a huge unknown that we could only assume right now. We're assuming you're going to have that trade-off of knowing the system, playing with each other as the benefits versus the lower competition, but only time's going to tell on that front.
If we do make that Open Cup run, they could be some really nice reinforcements, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, and the other thing, something that just came to mind is if this is the case that they're going to come and play for the MLS Next Pro team, I'm sure the team will have a plan to get some friendlies against USL teams or against other teams. So these guys have other competition, not only the MLS Next Pro, which, as you guys said, it's still an unknown how the level is going to be. So I'm sure the team will have a plan to get these guys playing against other teams and other players with similar level.
It's definitely an experiment, right? We've never seen an MLS team do this to this extent. I mean, you could argue that since he did it, I don't think Nashville really did it. But there are some examples, but we'll
Cincinnati,
see.
maybe?
Yeah. Did I say Cincy? That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Okay.
But
you said that Nashville, but yeah.
My bad. Yeah, totally. I mean, they tried to make a run for sure. It didn't work too well, right? But this feels different from that. And it's the third tier, not the second. So who knows? It'll be fun to watch and fun to talk about. I think that's it, though, guys. I think we're going to sign off. So if you guys were streaming with us today, I appreciate that. If you're listening to the podcast, of course, we appreciate that. I think my goal is to come back next week with a good, deep roster dive. We'll go a lot deeper than today, and maybe we'll have some news to talk about as well that we haven't heard yet. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's signed in today. The whole team was here. I didn't even think about it. But
Awesome.
all right,
Whole
we'll talk to you
gang.
next week. Bye, everyone.
See ya.